Welcome to this Killick Explains video. And this week what I want to do is to talk about a phrase that's being bandied around on social media in the context of employment, but which I think actually has some relevance to investing. So the phrase is quiet quitting. So if you haven't heard it, what does it mean? And the phrase is in itself interesting, but I want to take it towards the topic I normally talk about, which is how to go about investing. So what is it? Well, the theory, the quiet quitting theory, suggests the employer-employee relationship is fundamentally broken. What do I mean by that? Well, employees want a better work-life balance, won't go above and beyond, but also don't want to leave their job. So the result is they stay and go slow. Meanwhile, employers, goes the theory, are guilty of overworking employees and are unsympathetic to their desire to achieve this work-life balance, not sprint through piles and piles and piles of extra work. So the quiet quitter in this battle between employee and employer is someone that's basically disengaged, goes the theory, does the absolute minimum, turns their phone off at 5 o'clock, won't be called at weekends and so on, sticks rigidly to office hours, and has effectively resigned, goes the theory, without actually handing in their notice and leaving the building. Now, it's an interesting theory, I suppose, and there is a debate raging around how widespread is this quiet quitting problem post-pandemic. Is it in fact new? Or were there always employees working in businesses that were a bit disengaged and might be about to leave but actually never get round to it? Is it even a problem at all? In the sense that surely a quiet quitter is just somebody who's talked to their manager, said they have certain priorities in life, don't want to necessarily be scurrying up the corporate career ladder, and that might be all right. As one person put it to me once, somebody has to collect the rubbish. We can't all be the CEO. Anyway, leaving that debate to one side, whatever the answer to that sort of raging debate is, do quiet quitters exist? How big a problem is it? They might have something to teach investors. Because I was looking at this and thinking, well, actually, maybe the mindset isn't as crazy as it first sounds. So what do I mean? Well, novice investors, all right, often try to go above and beyond. All right, what I mean by that is they get carried away. They climb on bandwagons. They have fear of missing out. So the result is you've seen them piling over the last 2 years, 3 years, during the pandemic, post-pandemic, into meme stocks, which subsequently crashed, cryptocurrencies, which subsequently crashed, volatile commodities, which go all over the place via exchange-traded funds and leveraged exchange-traded funds and spread bets and you name it. Any manner of sort of risky entry point, if you like. They tend to switch horses frequently. In other words, they're sort of over-engaged with markets. They're almost like the whippersnapper new employee who will go the extra mile, who will do the 90-hour week, who doesn't have a social life, and so on. More experienced investors, on the other hand, tend to invest regularly, tinker very little with their portfolios, and follow what I call sleep at night principles. And those are long-termism, diversification, and rebalancing. Now, what is long-termism? And here we're moving towards my conclusion. Long-termism is, first of all, thinking about your objectives. Secondly, weighing up risk and return carefully. Thirdly, creating the appropriate portfolio. Fourthly, doing the minimum amount to maintain it, and in other words, not churning it too often. And fifthly, not quitting the market under any circumstances. All right, so maybe in investing, the thing that quiet quitters can tell us about being an investor is you want to be what I would call a quiet persister. In other words, long-term investing is about doing enough to make sure you've established and maintained the right portfolio, taking your long-term goals into account without turning into that overactive, over-engaged person who churns it frequently and ends up destroying what would have otherwise been decent compound long-term gains. And I'll leave the comparison there. If you'd like to know more about the topic I've just talked about, then do feel free to access our comprehensive library. That's killick.com/learn. If you'd like to find out more about investing the nuts and bolts, then there are guides available which both cover the basics and set them in sort of pivot point lifestyle context. That would be editor@killick.com for the How to Invest in Equities guide, for example. And if you'd like to read about one or two of these principles in some kind of context, then our quarterly magazine, which I edit, Confidant, is also available, editor@killick.com.